Well, welcome back to Base Camp, WNC. Oh, I've had a fair amount of people want to know the top secret mechanism to build these arches. So I'm going to go over this thing today. I'm getting ready to head back up to the mountains. I'm on the coast. About 100 degrees this morning. I'm sweating to death, so I'm going to make this as good as I possibly can. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of people disappointed in just how much rocket science there is involved in this thing. But this is my display arch that I use when I go to trade shows, and it's about ready to fall apart. Matter of fact, I had to scab a couple pieces on here. It's been left out in the rain and carried on the roof of vehicles and on the trailers for a while, so it's time to build another one. But in the process of doing this thing, I've changed over the years. The arches are made out of oriented strand board, 7/16, or as they build at 1/2 inch. I do now add what I call stiff leg here on the very beginning, and that is so that in your living room, when you have a couch, it sits up against a fairly straight wall. These things here are 3 foot. On that off-grid build, I made them 4 foot tall, so that way when the kitchen cabinet sits against it, it sits against a vertical wall, not an arched wall, and you don't have to cope it all in. All these arches right here have 3 layers of OSB on the outside run, 2 layers on the inside, and this is for up to 20 foot wide. When you go above 20 feet wide, you'll end up with 4 layers on this outside and 3 on the inside. This right here, I'm going to make up a mock little wall and go over some stuff. This right here is a 2x4 block. You can build it with a 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, 10, 12, whatever you want. The biggest I've ever done is a 2x10. This right here will be the outside here. This will have a back wall with thermoply on the inside. I'll show you that. But it'll be screened on the very bottom and vented up the top of the roof. And this is actually the area between the arches that acts as a soffit in your house. This is so you get ventilation in the house. This is your insulated area between here all the way to here. This right here we do on this kind of wall. We come in there and we do 1.5 to 2 inches of spray foam against this inside wall, and then put R19 bad insulation in it, and you end up with about an R25. That 2x10 wall we did had spray foam and bad insulation, and it was above 50 as an R factor. None of these arches will support the interior of the cabin. As I said in the off-grid build, the front wall and the back wall is what holds them logs up for the upstairs loft. You're going to have enough other walls inside, whether they are logs, whether they are floor trusses, or 2x8s, or 10s, or 12s, whatever you want, or if you just want a vaulted ceiling in the living room and a loft over top the kitchen bathroom area. That's your choosing. The widest one of these we've ever built is 28 feet. The factor of it is the width of your building. Let's just say it's 10 foot wide times 0.86, which would be then, in a true radius, the ceiling would be 8'6" high. 20 foot wide, you know, it would be 17 foot tall. But I'm going to show you where you bend this thing to make it however you want. I'm going to keep trying to import some of the pictures from the build, and hopefully I can draw some lines on it, how to lay these things out for you. That'll be some new technology for me to try to handle. But let me go over to this table and let me start showing you how the build goes. Okay, we got the sun in my glare. I got the sun on the back end of my phone, so hopefully this thing's recording out. Well, here's the table. This thing needs to be flat. If your bench you're going to work off the table is cocked or twisted from one end to the other, your arch frame is going to be twisted from one end to the other. Wood's a whole lot easier for me to deal with. If you had a wood floor in a shop, that would work. You're just not going to get me on my hands and knees to build 15, 20 of these things on my hands and knees. So I kind of have this thing up on sawhorses. This right here is a 14-inch laminated glue beam. And then I just screwed plywood down on top of that to make a bench. Let me take you down the other end and show you what I've done. Okay, we're down here. And basically this 2x4 here I've got run out represents the floor in your building. And let's just say we're going to build one 12 foot wide and 12 foot high. So what I've done, this is right here. Let's see if I can get in the screen right. This is the stiff leg for your building. I did square this up with a bigger framing square, but it is sitting there square right here. So then we took 6 foot from this point right here, right on out, which comes to here, and we put a screw in. And this is square. So then what we're going to do is we're going to run up here 12 foot. Let me move and I'll show you that. Now, hook the tape measure on that screw. I've screwed that square down so it can stay square. And we want to come up here, a total of 12 feet. Right here's 12 feet. Put a mark on the table. So then that building would end up being 12 foot wide and 12 foot high. Okay, I've changed these things. The build is like this. The outside boards on the arches are 4.5 inches wide now. The inside ones are 3 inches. And I'll explain that when I mock up a little build for you. But to determine the arch, what we've done, we just take a bunch of these 3-foot rips. We come right here at the end of it. Put a little 12-inch piece in there. We don't want it too big to affect the arch. Just take some drywall screws and screw them in there, and we attach them. We come down here on the leg and attach it in a couple spots and make it stiff. Now let's go up the other end and I'll show you how this works. Okay, we got 3 pieces of OSB all screwed together. I have cheated because I know how this thing works out for the film. I've already done it. And we have right here the 12-foot mark for the height. And what I've done, just take one of the boards, put 2 screws into it. And what that means is, you know, if you need a real tall, lean arch, you line your X up with this bow right there, and that's where you got it. If you want to make this thing 1 story, have a loft in it, you kind of want it squatted, and I'm going to try to show you some pictures I've done and different reasons for it, but here it is. Okay, I've got my flexible strip. I've got the screws in there to hold it right there. Put one big one in here to hold it down, and it's lined up right there on my 12-foot mark. Then what this also lets you do is, this right here will be, let me string this tape measure back out again. So this will be the actual center of your building. So it will come up here and come up there 12 feet. This is actually, if you can see it, you do need to employ a cameraman for this. This is half your building right here. So if we leave this tape measure, if I can get this tape measure to stay here, I'll go down and show you some other things you can look at. Okay, we're back down here at the floor end. And what I want to show you, even though we got this wall, the inside wall will be right here. Let's just say right here on the tape measure, we're at 6 foot. Let's say you're 6 foot tall. You would be able to come almost to the edge of the wall and be able to stand up without hitting your head on that thing. So if this is a kitchen, let's say, and you come out from the floor 24 inches for cabinets, you know, what you want to find out then is what your total headroom is.